God is dawn. Like and subscribe. Comment some night. Loving this light. Yes, God is dawn. God is dawn. God is dawn.
Peace, world, peace. Welcome or welcome back. I'm God's dawn, damn it. That's right. And I'm here to share some news that I came across online yesterday, actually. It's a news clip of a press conference where Republican congressmen are begging President Biden to remove VP Harris from our position of border czar. And this person is in charge of the border security. And I think they're specifically complaining about the southwestern region, which is the border between Mexico and the US. But, her appointment was announced at the end of March. And as of 6 days ago, it's being reported that she has yet to visit or call the governor of the state of Texas. It's become a big deal. It's a big hoopla because the border is a big hot button issue. The governor of Texas said that she has yet to visit or call regarding the migrant crisis. He also said the only couple of people from Homeland Security that he did talk to haven't called him in a long time. So basically, there's crickets when it comes to the border security and Homeland Security. When grilled by the press, she did insist that she's going to make her way down there, but she has yet to commit to a specific date or a time period. So check out this 2-minute clip. Let me share the video, and then I'll come back and chat a little more about this.
Conference is to discuss Kamala Harris's role as, quote, point person on immigration issues on the southern border. The vice president has now had over 12 weeks to display some leadership and do something at the border. We all know the numbers. This is easily the biggest crisis America is facing today. A year ago, about 6,000 people a month were crossing the border. Now we are at about 70,000 a month, including about 30,000 getaways and about 14,000 minors. Our Border Patrol touches about 5,800 people a day. Jay Johnson of the Obama administration at that time felt 1,000 a day is bad. And they're coming from all over the world. I've been down at the border in the last 4 months, 13,000 from Brazil, 11,000 from Cuba, around 6,000 from Russia and Ecuador, 5,000 from Haiti, all over the place. This not only is a disaster for our country, we are taking people who are not vetted. We recently hit a point at which we had 90,000 drug overdose deaths in a 1 year's time, most of them from fentanyl, almost all of which is coming across the southern border. We must act. Since being appointed as point person, we see Kamala Harris in Milwaukee, in California, South Carolina, Rhode Island. Over the weekend, I saw her in a parade. She has not been on the border. And as somebody who's been at the border 3 times this year and talked to so many other congressmen at the border, you don't know what's going on unless you're at the border. You've got to talk to the Border Patrol agents. You've got to talk to ICE. You've got to talk to local law enforcement. Now, hundreds of Democrats would have loved to have that job as vice president for President Biden. She was given this responsibility, and clearly she is doing far less than even what President Biden would have anticipated. I'm going to beg President Biden. America is very forgiving. I can think of a couple times in my life in which presidents admitted they made mistakes, and America even rallied around them. Please, President Biden, we all make mistakes for the good of the Border Patrol, for the good of the families of those whose loved ones have died of drug abuse, for the good of future Americans that require a secure border. Please, President Biden, take Kamala Harris off the point of the southern border and put somebody else in control. Thank you.
Well, as I mentioned, the southern border has been a hot button topic for a very, very long time. We all know Trump ran on the issue, and that's how he got a lot of his base, because a lot of people here in the US are very angry about, the undocumented immigrants and the numbers that have risen over time. Those numbers are wild. You heard this man, this congressman. I didn't get the guy's name. I'll put the link to this in the description box. It's a 30-minute video. I'm not going to play the whole thing. 70,000 plus a month coming in from just one region. 11,000 one place. It's just, those numbers are crazy. And what's worse, probably it's on the low end of the spectrum. So I'm going to play a little bit of what the next congressperson came up to say.
Thank you, Congressman Grothman, for leading on this issue. When I ran for Congress this past year, this is one of the issues that I emphasized most: the need for us to have a secure border, to manage our immigration in a way that puts Americans and Americans workers first, and is a total dereliction of duty for the Vice President, the so-called border czar, to allow what's happening on the border. I've already been to the border once as a freshman Congress member, and while I knew a lot about how terrible the situation was and what the problems were, there's no substitute for being there firsthand and seeing it up close in person, to see what's coming across the border, to see that the Mexican cartels, the organized crime of Mexico, is controlling everything and everybody that comes across that border. There's no humanitarian or compassionate side to an open border. The conditions under which these migrants are coming, what they're suffering, how they're being victimized by the organized crime, the trafficking that's going on, as well as the illegal substances that are coming across, deadly fentanyl, very dangerously high amounts coming across our border. We're on pace for some 2 million illegal apprehensions at the border this year, at the pace of 170, 180,000 a month. And that's the ones we know about. That's the ones that we catch, most of which are being released into the country. They're not being stopped based on whether or not they have a positive COVID test. They're not being stopped based on whether or not they have a criminal background. They're not being stopped based on whether or not they wish us harm. They're coming from over 160 different countries. Some are coming who are on the terrorist watch list. And yet we have a border czar, so-called, who's never been to the border, in her role in this new assignment from the president. If she's dismissed from this assignment or she resigns, no one will even know it, because she's not there doing her job. What she's doing is building a wall between herself and the truth. And she needs to either be dismissed or resign from this position. The number one responsibility of government is to keep us safe and secure, and you cannot do that with an open border. Fix the border, replace the czar. Thank you very much.
So there you have it. Some people call it globalism or the one world order coming into being. The fact that it's pretty much an open border. I mean, he said 2 million apprehensions a year, but a lot of them are being allowed in. The numbers are tremendous. What they didn't mention is the wall. I know you guys remember the wall. The GOP are pissed about the wall's halted efforts, though that's only one of the regions that are affected. There are several other border regions that also need protecting, if you want to call it protecting. VP Kamala was sharp-toned with a Univision reporter when she put her on the spot. And VP Harris said what she said. I'm going to go ahead and play that clip.
¿Cómo le responde usted a él? I said I'm going to go to the border. And when are you going to the border, Vice President? The administration has asked. I'm not finished. I said I'm going to the border. And also, if we are going to deal with the problems at the border, we have to deal with the problems that cause people to go to the border, to flee to the border. And that is the root causes. So my first trip as Vice President of the United States was to go, in terms of a foreign trip, to Guatemala, to be on the ground there, to address and to be informed of the root causes. Why are the people of Guatemala leaving? Do you have a date? ¿Tiene una fecha para su viaje a la frontera para ver la situación con sus propios ojos? I will keep you posted. I have to.
She said, I will keep you posted. So, yeah, I mean, she said, if you were listening, if we're going to deal with the problems at the border, we have to deal with the problems that cause people to go to the border, to flee to the border. Yeah, that statement was the absolute right thing to say, but will she do it? Or will, she's in charge of the policy. She has all of Homeland Security under her, or that division under her, to help her execute and carry out the plans. But as the governor of Texas stated, Homeland Security itself has not even been in touch. So it's not that just that Kamala herself has been absent, or MIA. She's been appointed only 3 months. She is the vice president of the whole United States of America. And that vice presidency is also a very new appointment. With regard to the press, or to these Congress people, they have to understand that she's not a one-woman show. She's a whole army of people. She's a whole administration and team. She has people who work under her. I think it would behoove her to at least assign maybe a team or a task force over there. Maybe they could FaceTime or do some type of video if she's too busy to go herself. But even maybe a quick trip just to take a look. I know she went down there prior to her vice president inauguration, or maybe it was right after, but I do remember her visiting the children, because that's another issue. The children in the cages, the children who were separated from their families. I know there's been efforts recently to reunite them with their families. It's been a huge, actual huge undertaking. She, Kamala Harris, was, I believe, over that initiative to get that thing going. So, for them to just kind of holler that she's not doing her job, she's not doing her job. I mean, on one hand, if she's in charge, yes, it is her responsibility. But at the other end of the spectrum, on the other hand, she also has to be allowed to be human in a huge role as vice president, and be given some time and space to handle the things that need to be done. So time will tell. In the meantime, the U.S. being overrun by undocumented immigrants puts a huge strain on our resources here. And that's education, hospitals or healthcare, food, so many things. And we're still in a pandemic. Let's not forget that. They report that as you heard that second congressman speak, that the Mexican cartels run the southwestern borders, and they basically rule what goes in and what goes out. So if that's the case, then sounds like it's something maybe the military should be brought in on. But it's also been said that the U.S. makes great financial gains by allowing the immigrant overflow. And this is corruption at the highest levels. But yeah, back to the military. Why not enact the military? Just asking. Until we, the people, unite and use our economic power along with our voices, and that's speaking out, voting, boycotting, marching, whatever it takes, we will continue to be used and abused by the system and the powers that be. All we're seeing currently, in my opinion, are a lot of grand gestures. And I am kind of speaking on the Juneteenth thing, being a federal holiday and whatnot. Also, a lot of symbolism. And that could be her vice presidency, also a symbol, versus real acts of reparation. We, the people, hold the power, and we need to unite and take charge. I keep saying unite because until we do get united, everything else is off the table. The few that take the payoff and who act as gatekeepers, the go along, get alongs, They're in the way, but they can be moved. It's a spiritual war that can be won with the right leadership in place. Truth tellers, stand up. Stand up. Shout out to Kwame Brown and everyone else doing their part. Let's keep the momentum going. Show support to the ones who can get us to the promised land. Be the light so others can see. Share the word and the work. Do your part and change will come. I'm going to leave it here. Yeah, thank you as always. I appreciate you. Till next time, y'all. Peace.